Yet another Scipio has landed in Rise of Kingdoms, and today we're going to be breaking down Scipio Aemilianus' skills and talking about whether I think he's going to be the new rally meta in Rise of Kingdoms. Stick around to learn more. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another Rise of Kingdoms gameplay video from your very own Shappy Gaming. Today we are talking about Scipio Aemilianus. He was just announced this morning, and my goal is to be one of the first creators to get a video out for you guys. Now, before I jump into anything, we have to address the elephant in the room. This is the third Scipio in the game for Rome. Not only that, but we have now 2 English Williams. Lilith, do you guys need some help coming up with names? Like, we're happy to help. We've got some ideas. Now, all jokes aside, this commander looks like he is going to be amazing off the bat. Now, his talents are Infantry, Conquering, and Smite. This is a really big deal for a couple reasons. A, it's going to mean that he does have that Conquering tree, which is absolutely essential if he's going to be a rally commander. But overall, this kit is really, really nice. It's going to be a question as to what you invest in, whether you're going Infantry tree or Conquering tree or Smite tree. And we already know the Smite tree is super broken. I'll be bringing that up at the end so we can walk through, some of those skills if you guys haven't seen them already. Also, if you haven't checked out the William video, that's going to be linked on the top right side of your screen now for you. And be sure to hit that subscribe button while you're at it. It helps me out a lot. And let's jump into it, shall we? So what does this guy have? Okay. Come on, Lilith. First guy's name is Scipio Africanus. Now you got Scipio Aemilianus. What's his first skill? Africanus. Guys, come on now. Okay. His first skill has a rage requirement of 1,000, and it deals smite damage, we love it, to a target troop, damage factor of 2,700 for the next 3 seconds. That is absolutely unheard of. 2,700 is a lot of damage factor. To put it into contrast, I believe the only other commander with that much damage factor is going to be Ho Chu Bang. And this is smite damage. Not only that, the target's now going to take an additional 20% damage. This is huge because this is a debuff that's actually going to make it so when you're trying to swarm a flag or a fort or anything like that, you want this guy to be the rally commander because now you can swarm it and deal a ton of damage immediately after that skill pops. So, maybe this will help Belisarius. I wonder if this is going to stack. Let me know in the comment section below. What do you guys think? I think it actually will because it's a second commander, but I guess we'll find out. Now, for the next skill, we have Huntsmaster. This commander's infantry units gain 20% march speed while outside of Alliance territory. This is a rally commander. I don't know how much I care about march speed if I'm being honest, but okay, fine. If this commander is leading a rally attack, all infantry units in their rallied army gain 30% health. That's pretty big because when we're talking about different commanders in Rise of Kingdoms, in KVK, you can get all attack buffs, right? All attack and all damage. And infantry specifically don't have a lot of equipment that really favors health. So when you're talking about what does a infantry commander really need, it's probably going to be health. So I'm actually really happy about this. This health is also going to make it so people are less likely to swarm down this rally, but we'll have to see how that really works out based on his other skills. So here is his third skill. This one is huge. This commander deals 5% more normal attack damage whenever the troop is hit with a basic attack, has a 30% chance to dispel all health and defense debuffs currently affecting it. Now what's interesting here is that also dispelling any attack debuffs? It doesn't call it out, but I would kind of expect it to be, right? I don't know. That's a pretty good shrug. I like that. For the next 3 seconds, it will also gain immunity to health and defense debuffs and take 25% normal attack damage. So this is really interesting because you're increasing your normal attack damage. 5% is kind of whatever when we're talking about actually rallying something. But when the troop is hit with a basic attack, it can dispel debuffs. That's really useful because when we think about, you're launching a rally and you're launching it at a flag, let's say Zeno's in there or Heraclius or whatever. The fact that this guy can now shrug off debuffs if he gets swarmed is, I think, pretty impactful. This also means that you're going to take 25% less normal attack damage. So if I'm reading this right, what this means is that not only will you shrug off the debuffs if you get swarmed, but you're also going to make your garrison less effective because this guy's going to take 25% less normal attack damage if you swarm him. So this makes him kind of swarm proof. You're not necessarily killing the marches that are attacking you, but you do have that nice little advantage there. Now, 5% more normal attack damage. It does say includes smite damage. So this is actually a direct buff to your skill for your active skill. And depending upon who you pair it with, that's also going to buff them too. So that's not bad at all. Now, dispel effects can be prevented by the silenced effect. Passive skills dispel effects that can take effect no matter what. So this is interesting because there are other commanders that can shrug off a silence. We'll be looking at some of them just to give you an idea of what our pairings could be. But overall, this is actually pretty good. It's an interesting skill. I'm curious to see how this manifests. On to skill number 4 and the expertise. Salt the earth. If this commander's troop is attacking a city or stronghold, whenever their troop launches a basic attack, it has a 50% chance to inflict the following effects. In other words, it's going to inflict the following effects. The target loses 25% attack and defense. That's a huge debuff. And if this commander is serving as the troop's primary, which honestly it should because it has the smite tree in infantry in conquering, there's no reason this guy shouldn't be your primary. The target will also be silenced. So you're silencing them, you're debuffing them, and you're just going to be overall wrecking them with that skill damage. I'm pretty happy with this. So far he seems pretty good. And tip for tat. Whenever the current target of this commander's troop uses an active skill, the commander's troop gains rage 40% faster for the next 2 seconds. So that's interesting. Because what it's going to mean is that you're popping off your skills faster. 2 seconds is not very much, but I'm wondering if this is going to give you kind of that effect of having the horn without actually having to have the horn. So this is actually going to be a pretty big deal. I'm really excited about him. Now the question is, who would you pair him with, right? So let's look at who we have in game first, and we can actually go through that. So as you can see here, we have Hoju Bing up, but you're not going to be using him. We have Scipio. Let's talk about Scipio for a second. This Scipio, again, deals direct damage. He's got AoE, and he is going to debuff the target for health. So there's some synergy there, but realistically, you want someone with smite damage because you have that smite tree. That said, again, Scipio might be interesting to test with. I'm excited to test him. You do get a 40% attack buff. Previous with the new Scipio, you get a defense buff or a health buff. So I'm curious to see how this manifests. You do get more increased health, and you have a chance to deal additional damage factor. That's fine. And whenever you take skill damage, you can reduce the damage by 30% and get a shield. So Scipio has some synergy. The other thing here is this troop will gain 30% faster rage if the current target is silenced. And we know new Scipio has that silence skill where if the commander serving as primary, you're going to silence them. And overall, that's not a bad deal because you're giving a silence and then you have a buff with Scipio if the target is silenced. So just an idea there. I'm going to go through, I'm going to test that. If you're curious, do hit that subscribe button right over there, bottom right hand corner. Drop a like on the video if you're enjoying. I'm curious to see how this is going to work, this duo. But realistically, let's talk about the 3 commanders really that everyone's looking at. The first is going to be Luce, mainly just because there's the smite damage synergy already. Now Luce does have a pretty big damage factor, and he has an AoE. If you're doing a rally, I don't know how important this AoE is. I guess you're going to kill some reinforcements with it. But overall, Also, that debuff that you have here, troops hit by this skill lose 40% march speed. If you're rallying a structure, this 40% march speed really doesn't make much of a difference. Now, you are gaining 20% defense, and you're going to gain 20% march speed and take 20% less skill damage. Now, that 20% less skill damage is going to be nice as we talk about, attacking garrison, because all the garrisons are really probably going to be running skill damage, not smite damage. So that's not a bad thing to have, because you're already reducing normal attack damage taken as well. Now, if this troop is attacking another troop on the map, so this one I think is already out of the question. And the reason I think this is out of the question is because this is attacking another troop on the map, not attacking a garrison. So this is if this commander's troop is on the map, you deal 10% less. The target deals 10% less damage for 3 seconds. So that's a similar debuff to what we're seeing with Scipio already. Overall, I'm not thinking this is the best pair, just because Luce is mainly built for field combat, not rallies. So let's look at someone who may actually be viable as a pairing here. So if we go down here, the one commander I know everyone's thinking about is going to be Gorgo. Gorgo is super viable in the field. We've seen her used before, and she also has smite damage. So first basic attack launched by this commander's troop deals extra smite damage with a damage factor of 1500. This means that between the two of them, you're going to be getting some pretty wicked damage that's going to hurt. And this is also an instant proc skill. So that means as soon as you touch the structure, sorry. And then for the next 2 seconds, their troop deals 2% more normal attack damage. That's going to go up to 10%. And then with an extra 10% bonus to counterattack damage. That's actually pretty good because you do want your rally to be taking less damage. And so that bonus to counterattack damage is going to make it so you're a little bit more swarm proof. And this skill here takes 5% less skill damage, but also deals 5% less skill damage. That doesn't hurt you. And that is a skill damage reduction of 20%. If you're using Smite commanders, this debuff is only a buff. So that's actually really good. And you get that Smite damage buff there. The only downside here is you're probably going to have to run her as secondary, which means that this buff here is not going to be as impactful with this for the next 3 seconds. But realistically, this isn't a buff to an active skill. It's just a general damage buff. So I'm liking it. Now, this commander's infantry units gain 40% attack, which again, we don't have an attack buff on Scipio right now. And when their troop launches a basic attack, it has a 10% to increase the target's normal damage received by 30%. So this is actually really nice because we're talking about normal damage received. I'm wondering if this even applies to Smite here. Let's see. Include Smite damage. Okay, so that's increasing all Smite damage by 30%. So I would wonder if this could also stack with your skill damage. That would be pretty cool. But again, Gorgo's not going to be your primary, so I don't know how frequently this is going to proc. I don't know. If this commander is serving as garrison commander, which we're not, so this is not really an issue. And then when this commander's troop deals smite damage, it deals 30% more normal attack damage for the next 3 seconds. So again, you are increasingly buffing that smite damage. Gorgo might be a pretty good pair here. I really want to test it because she just stacks so much bonus to that smite damage. Okay, here we go. If this commander's troop has less than 50% units remaining, whenever it launches a basic attack or counterattack, it has a 10% chance to gain a damage aborting shield and reduce the attack of up to 5 nearby enemy troops. Again, making you just a little bit more swarm proof, which we do want to see on these rallies. So that could be totally viable. Now, we do have Tariq. You could run Tariq, but again, he doesn't have smite damage, so I'm not as crazy about him. Now, the last person that we should talk about as a potential pair is going to be William. He's not out yet, but if you missed my previous video, again, check that out on the top right side of your screen. You can go through that as well. William is going to be potentially a really good pair for this guy, so we'll have to test it, but I'm already thinking he might be the best pair just because Luce has a skill you can't use. Gorgo also has a skill you can't use, whereas William, I'm pretty sure you can use all of them. So just my initial thoughts there. Now, one last thing that I wanted to make sure I go over with you guys is going to be the Smite talent tree. So as you can see, there are a bunch of talents here that you can possibly use. To the bitter end, every 10 seconds, this commander's troop enters a battle. It gains a 2% bonus to all types of smite damage dealt up to 10%. This is huge. I love this. I think this is going to be a massive buff that if you're in a rally, this is even more viable because you expect your rally is going to last a long time. Now, if we're talking about rallying a pass, this is even more impactful because this is going to give you just about a 10% bonus to all smite damage dealt, which is pretty huge when we're talking about these massive numbers. This commander's troop takes 6% less skill damage. We already know that's a great skill. And then whenever this commander's troop deals any type of smite damage, all troops hit by that damage lose 45% rage. So this is nice because with that skill pop that we were talking about earlier, and that's this one over here, you gain rage 40% faster. This is an interesting stack because when we talk about that in conjunction with here, you're actually going to be debuffing the enemy's rage and increasing your own rage after they pop a skill. So this is not a bad deal. I'm actually really intrigued by how this works. I think this is going to be a really good mechanic. Now, last but not least, Thunderous Smite. Whenever this commander's troop deals any type of smite damage, there's a 30% damage. The damage will be increased by 10%. The Smite tree is super broken. This is going to be crazy. I think that this guy has potential. This new Scipio commander could be the new meta. He could be. I mean, we'll have to see. I'll have to do a testing. Again, be sure to hit that subscribe button. I will be doing a testing of him. But Lilith, come on. We need more names. Give us something more. Give us something more. If you guys have enjoyed, drop a like on the video. Thank you all. Shappy out.